Welcome, 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 everyone, to the very first episode of Vulnerability podcast, where we will spill tea and we will talk about the things that make us vulnerable. We're mainly going to talk about mental health here and the freedom that being vulnerable brings us. Okay, some of you may know me. My name's Judith Vergara, and some of you may know me as the host of Entrepreneur in the Spotlight, and then later on, the host of the Play Inspired podcast. Now, you would notice that I have taken a 2-year break. It started in May of 2018. I took a break, and I pretty much kind of semi-retired, mainly because I was going too hard. I was producing Entrepreneur in the Spotlight 7 days a week. I was pumping out new content every single day, and I was doing the same for the Play Inspired podcast. And then I pretty much burnt out, right? And to be honest, it took me the whole 2 years to recover from the burnout. And if we're being completely transparent here, I honestly feel like I still have not recovered from the burnout. It's like one of those things. When you burn out, you never recover. And so, my friends, I always say, I've been saying this for the last 2 years. If you were still connected with me, and if you work with me at any capacity over the last 2 years, you would know, or you would have heard me say, slow down, take the time to unplug, never let yourself fall into that category of burning out. Okay? It's not a good place, and it has brought me into really dark mental places, and that is pretty much how vulnerability was born, right? I was put in a spot where I was so ashamed to admit that I cannot keep up with the hustle, and I hate that word. I absolutely hate that word. I hate the word hustle. I was so ashamed to admit that I caved into the burnout. I couldn't keep up with the 7 days a week pumping of content. And then at the same time, doing the marketing campaigns, writing the email campaigns for everything, promoting the podcast, promoting my business. And so, yeah, that put me in a really dark mental place. I have spiraled into depression, and over the last, I would say, year, right? I got some help. I started speaking up. I went through, and if you've heard of the landmark curriculum, I did all three. I did the forum, I did the advanced course, and then later on, I did the 4-month self-expression and leadership program. And it's in that program that I actually learned to self-express. And that's where I learned how being vulnerable and actually admitting to certain things, right, is what's going to give me my freedom, is what's going to pull me out of depression, is what's going to make my relationships with other people a lot better, relationships with my family, with my friends. And so I want to create that same space for you. Okay? Over the episodes here, some episodes will be a solo session, much like this one. But a lot of the episodes, we will have certain people, certain experts here hanging out with us, talking about their experiences and how being vulnerable has helped them move forward in their life, in their business, how it's made the things better for them, how it's created the freedom for themselves, okay? Today I'm going to share my experience with you, and please, if you are on YouTube, watching this on YouTube, or if you are listening to the podcast, and if you're, feel free to send me a message, whether on Facebook or Instagram, and share your story with me, right? I always love hearing from each and every single one of you. Or if you're in the newsletter, be sure to send a reply to one of my emails. I always love hearing from each and every single one of you. So anyway, I'm going to share my story here. When I say vulnerable, being vulnerable, okay, we're going to start spilling the tea. Okay, for those of you who don't know what spilling the tea means, it just means we're gonna rap, we're gonna talk, we're gonna have a chat, we're gonna have a conversation. We're not necessarily gonna gossip about some people. Maybe, who knows where this conversation will lead us. But for the sake of today's chat, we're gonna talk about being vulnerable as a key to freedom. And when I say vulnerable, I'm not talking about some kind of a damsel in distress situation. I'm talking about something where you are free to actually admit to things. You are free to express yourself. You are free to admit and say, oh my God, I was wrong and I'm sorry. That does not make you any less of a person. That does not make you actually wrong. But putting yourself in a position where you hold yourself accountable, believe it or not, actually releases a lot of pressure. It takes a lot of weight off your shoulder. And at the same time, it gives you this freedom. Okay. You let go of any kind of attachment to how people think of you. Pretty much what I'm saying here is that being vulnerable in a way that you are not scared of looking bad, or you're not always trying to make yourself look good. You are just being you. You're just self-expressing. Okay? One of the most recent examples, is that I was journaling, right? And I saw a post by one of my friends. If you know her, Laura Millard, I had her on Entrepreneur in the Spotlight, and I'm gonna work on getting her here as well. She's amazing. I think she goes by Laura Amy on Facebook now. But anyway, we're gonna have her. She's amazing. I'm gonna go reach out to her, set up an interview with her and have her here in the podcast. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. She had the journal prompt in one of her private Facebook group, and basically for the first time ever, I finally got to the root cause of why I am unable to meet certain financial goals. I could make up to certain XYZ amount of money, but why can't I surpass that? There seems to be some kind of invisible ceiling, right? And this is literally like 2 weeks ago. And just from that, I finally spoke up and just said, you know what? I am scared to receive XYZ amount of money because I worry that I'm going to mismanage it and I'm going to end up right where I started. And as soon as I said that, it's like there's a whole lot of clarity. It's like there's a whole lot of shoulder weight off my shoulders. And I'm like, holy shit. I just stumbled onto something here. There's clearly something there. And so, it gave me that freedom, right? To actually explore that, to actually tackle certain things when it comes to that certain money mindset, right? And so that's kind of the space that I want to create here with you here in this podcast, is to have that space where you can say anything you have to say, where you can have conversations, right? And like I said, we're gonna go whether it's in the comments, if you feel safe enough, in the comment section on any of my posts, or any on my YouTube videos, or in the podcast here, you're more than welcome. Or if you prefer a private message or email me, that's perfectly fine. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. Most of the time it boils down to just having someone to really talk to, right? I know when I talk to my best friend, he's always provided that safe space for me, and that's why I always love and appreciate him, and I'm always grateful for him. And then pretty much. So basically the main goal for this podcast is to create that freedom. Okay? Our motto here is Loka Samasta Sukino Bhavantu. And chances are I butchered that. But basically what that means is, may all beings be happy and free. And may my thoughts, words, and actions contribute to that happiness and freedom. I don't know the exact translation word for word, but that's what it roughly translates to. And that's really what I aim for in here. Okay. Okay, actually, here it is. I just looked it up. It's may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and to that freedom for all. Okay, and that's how I always, if you've been following, if you're in my newsletter for the last while, you'll know that that's how I sign off on some of my emails. I always sign off with love and gratitude, but most of the time that's how I sign off my emails, and that's how I intend to sign off these podcasts. Okay, podcasts episodes. But anyway, basically that's what I want. I want your freedom starts inside your mind. And in order for you to be free, you have to be vulnerable. In order for you to be free, you have to be able to express yourself. And that's what I intend to create. I want a world where everyone is free to be. You won't have, your freedom starts with you. And this is how I see now more than ever. At the time of this recording, we are in the middle of the COVID-19 quarantine. It's March 24th, 10:12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time as I record this. Now more than ever, during quarantine, I know a lot of people are going into, their anxieties are triggered, their depressions is triggered. And so now more than ever, okay, it's important to be able to speak up, to express yourself. It's more important than ever to actually go on, reach out, ask for help. Okay, help is always available. Okay, and so yeah, basically that's what vulnerability is. We're gonna sit here, we're gonna spill tea, and we're gonna talk about self-expression. We're gonna talk about mental health. Basically creating that freedom through self-expression, free to be. I want each and every single one of you living your best life. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm gonna sign off here now. We're gonna have a new episode every Monday, right? Whether it's we have a guest, whether we have a solo session, but we will always create that safe space. And not only on Mondays, you're always, like I said, you're always more than welcome to send me a message at any time. Okay? But before anything else, I want to leave you with this, okay? Always be grateful, right? The gratitude is the number one multiplier. When you wake up in the morning, list 3 things that you are grateful for. I'm grateful for waking up today. I'm grateful for a roof over my head. I'm grateful for this warm bed. I'm grateful. And then you just go on and on and on and on from there, right? I'm grateful for the water, 2 kinds of water coming out of the tap, hot and cold. And I have a 3rd kind of water downstairs. I have ice, certain things like that. Trust me, that will shift your perspective and set you up for a great day. Okay, so again, this is Judy Vergara, and I hope you got tons of value out of this episode, and I'll see you on the next episode of Vulnerability. May all beings be happy and free.